All right, audience, welcome everybody to the Seeds 963. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Check us out. Check us out. Check us out. Now, today on the show, we're gonna be talking about the deep fakes and misinformation era. You know what I mean? We talking about that right now. That's what we're going into today, fellas. Right now, let me for our listening audience, let me introduce everybody. Right now in studio, I'll call it in studio. I got Brandon here to my left.
Thank you for having me.
Then I got Anthony over here to my right, my son Anthony. Then we got Les over here over here.
What's going
I'm
on?
I'm Anthony Butler, Senior, TheSeedz963, and then on a phone in call we have Leslie from DC right now.
Yep.
Say hi, Leslie.
Hey, how's everybody doing? I'm feeling great. Glad to
And then
be
we
here.
and then on also on the line we have Keith. Say how you doing, Keith.
Hey, peace.
All right, all right, all right.
All
So
right,
we
all
gonna
right. So we gonna
so we gonna jump right
so
into
we
this
gonna
topic
jump
right
right into
now.
this topic right now.
Did it just start again?
This is
Something just echoed again.
we
Something
just
just
echoed.
echoed. These are the things about going live. You know what I mean? We gonna fix some things. Here we go. Here we go. First, we gonna start off with Leslie on the phone. Leslie,
Yes,
we
sir.
gonna start off with deep fakes in the misinformation era. Here you go. Let
All
you
right.
begin, sir.
Well, deepfakes are definitely real. I've been looking into the subject of psyops, and psyops is simply short for psychological operations. Um, and the premise of it is that basically uh, an entity such as the media or a trusted news cycle or something to that effect, or maybe even some books and things that you see on the internet will be put out to essentially divide and conquer uh, a consensus on a particular situation or to keep a consensus from being reached on a particular situation. Um, but what I find is that once one sets himself within the frequency of truth, as soon as you hear a lie, the lie won't hit like the truth is. And basically, there's a saying that what comes from the heart reaches the heart. And so, when a person or like an individual is has been keyed into the frequency of truth, that person is almost impossible to fool. And when that person hears something that is less than the truth or isn't backed by some type of fact, then the thing that's trying to be rammed down that person's throat just won't go down. The truth is sweet, and the lie is always has some type of bitterness to it. So it is incumbent upon us as students and scholars and men that are seeking the truth to be able to decipher a lie, which is basically anything that's not true. I mean, if I make you some cookies and I put a little shit in the cookies, do you still want to eat those cookies? Just because there's, a little bit of shit in them. So basically, you want something that's pure when you're seeking the truth. And things such as when people write things off with such as coincidence and stuff like that, when you're doing an investigation, there's no such thing as coincidence. When you see something that coincides with another incident, then that thing must be studied. So when I was in school, they had like they called it like the scientific uh, I can't remember it's the scientific process or something to that effect.
Scientific.
That you come up with a hypothesis, and anything that proves that hypothesis wrong at any point within the scientific investigation that disproves your hypothesis, that means you must throw that hypothesis away. And a smart man, a man of wisdom, coming into a situation thinking something or having a preconceived notion, you must be smart enough to throw that preconceived notion away once it's been disproven. Holding on to something that no longer serves you just is not smart. It's not something that somebody with wisdom like should do. They shouldn't subscribe to. Having preconceived notions, one, when you're coming into a situation, and then if you do, Once that preconceived notion has been destroyed, then you must let it go.
All right, all right, all right. Now that's a great start off right there. That's a great start off right there. Our next member, Anthony Butler. It's on you next.
So, I think one of the biggest dangers in this deep fake and misinformation era probably has got to be them using political figures with the deep fakes and all of the misinformation. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that video of it was a little while back at the beginning of the deep fakes, probably like 2012, right at the end of well, more like, yeah, 2012, 2013. It was right at the beginning of Obama's second term, and people were creating a bunch of deep fakes of Obama, having him say some real off the wall shit. So I feel like that's probably one of the biggest things with these deep fakes is them using political figures and them making them say things, making them do things that's not actually there. And that's a lot when AI comes in now, especially now and here in this day and age. People are using AI to do the deep fakes now instead of having to go in and do all the editing themselves. So the AI will sit there and perfectly mock somebody's voice, and it'll perfectly mock their body. They can put it on a background of something, act like they were somewhere. They can make them say pretty much anything that they want to. And then, that, like Leslie was saying, that's when you have to use your knowledge and what vibes with you and your spirit to then be able to tell what's true and what's not. Because they're putting a bunch of deep fakes out here, and they're doing it every day with political figures. They're doing it with the athletes that have a big voice, like LeBron James, people like that. They're putting a bunch of deep fakes out there for people to pretty much say whatever they want the person to say, and that's you got to know what's the difference between the real and the fake.
Definitely.
Definitely. Now, this misinformation era, man, it's gonna get really big for us out here, especially as melanated people out here, because a lot of us, our sources are these social medias, and right now, I go through this kind of like at the shop. People come in and they see we have to go through an argument. Got to go actually Google the true source of some of the knowledge and stuff, because people put out here so many different memes, lying and things, saying this person said one thing and said another. You know what I mean? Like there's a whole meme, like you said, son, with LeBron James, where they had him saying stuff against Stephen A. and it wasn't even true. They had his mouth moving like he was saying it and everything like that. And with something like that, that's gonna go deeper later on. So pretty soon, we probably won't be able to trust social media really, because you never know unless you hear from that person if that person actually really said it or not. Really said it or not. You know what I mean? Now, who? Oh, go ahead.
Say one more thing. So I just got one more thing to interject about this as well. Just think about this for a second. What kind of frenzy, especially here in the Americas, what type of frenzy would people go into if they seen Donald Trump if somebody made a deep fake, let's put that out there, it's a deep fake. Let's say Donald Trump, and they put him saying that there's nuclear war going on now, or that he's about to nuke this place or about to nuke that place. What type of frenzy would people go into, especially with how many people use social media and use their phones? And if you look at your screen time on your phone, it'll let you know how much people really use their phones nowadays. Just scrolling down social media, how much of a frenzy would people go into if they seen that?
Okay, right. Now, go ahead, Les.
Yeah, so you talk about Donald Trump right before he got back into office. We talk about that he was saying that the Haitian people was eating dogs and in Springfield. And then all you saw on social media and the news, it was just going in with it. And had people really thinking in Springfield, Ohio, people was eating dogs. I mean, that's a classic example of deep fake. The fake news, political deep fakes, he does it all the time. Even it's like, I'm gonna build a wall to keep all the immigrants out, all the Mexicans out. I'm building a wall so they can't get into the United States. All the little things he does, and to get that he did to get back in office, is wild. It's wild because social media, believe it or not, Twitter, Elon Musk, all that. I mean, let's talk about Dogecoin. Just like he went on, everybody was in it. I know I was in it. And I was making money and everything. And I foolishly, I didn't watch Saturday Night Live. And when he got on there and said it was fake, it went down. And I lost. I didn't lose a lot of money, but I had lost a lot that I earned doing it. And then I was kind of salty, like, dang, I hear him took my money out, but I didn't leave it in there. But I was up, and I didn't pay attention to it. I just let it stay in there, and it just kept gaining. And then when he got on Saturday Night Live, it went down. He was like, yeah, it's fake.
Yep, in the crypto, that's what they call a rug pull.
Yep. Happens all the time.
Yep.
All the time.
So, who's next? Brandon?
Let me add something to what Leslie said about the truth and the lie. And I'm not correcting Leslie. I just think that he said the truth is sweet and the lie is bitter. Did I get that correct, Leslie?
Yeah,
I
I
actually,
said that.
I actually believe it's the opposite. I think the lie is sweet and the truth is bitter. And the reason I say that because I think more people believe the lie than they do the truth. That's why I think that. The truth is a hard pill to swallow. The truth doesn't set you free, it makes you free. You get what I'm saying? There's a difference between set and make. Make is to create something that has not been there before. You get what I'm saying? You can set a remote over on the table, but can you make a remote over on the table? See what I'm saying? There's a difference in the meaning. So I think the truth is a lot bitter than the lie is. That's why so many people believe a lie than they do the truth. It sound what is that? I can't remember what that is, but the eye see, the ears hear, and the mind believes. Get what I'm saying? And it's so easy to get sucked into that. As far as when we talking about deep fakes and that sort of thing. And I think he did touch into what touches the heart what touches the heart reaches the heart. I think that's what you said too, Leslie. I think
What
that's
comes from the heart? What comes from the heart reaches the heart.
right. Sorry if I misquoted you, but that's
No, no.
I think that is so vital in what he's saying, especially in today's what we got going on today. There's so many things. I think there's a lot of deep fakes out there, but I think there's also something called Hegelian dialect, where they have to tell you what they are going to do.
Yep.
Whether they're telling you in movies or they're telling you in Broadway plays or whatever the case may be, the truth is wrapped somewhere into the lie. So you're gonna have some sweetness there. You're gonna have a little bitterness, which is the truth, but you're gonna have more sweet there because they need more people to accept what is going on. So that's just my take on deep fakes. I don't see a lot of this and that. I don't want to get into specifics, but I think when it comes to that, the lie and the truth, as Leslie said, I just think that the lie is more sweeter than the truth is.
Definitely.
What I meant by the sweetness, it's not initial sweetness that with the truth, because the truth normally it stings, but at the end, once you've matured and you've accepted, then it has a tendency to become more sweet. That lie is probably initially sweet, but in the end, it's got the bite of the serpent to it.
I get that.
So I dig what you're saying, and what you're saying is absolutely true, because there's some poisons that are sweet. That codeine, we used to sip codeine back in the day. I'm from Texas, man. We used to sip codeine, and that stuff was sweet. and it tasted really good. But at the end, you know, when you lose your car keys and somebody done got you for all your money because you fell asleep on the curb, then
Mm.
you know you start to see the consequences of having something that you thought was sweet to you, or like you had companionship with that cigarette. You thought that was your companion, and then you know you get face cancer or throat cancer, something like that. You know, you start to see the consequences of what you thought was sweet and how it wasn't sweet. But that truth, it endures, and so that's the initial sting of truth, maybe, or the discomfort, or maybe what you were saying, like the bitterness of it. It tends to lose its bitterness once you start to see that whomever it was that was giving you that hard pill to swallow really had your best interest at heart, and you begin to trust that person, and that becomes a person that you can lean on when times get hard.
Right. Right.
I love this kind of stuff right here.
So let's hear what Keith got to say.
Keith, would you like to interject?
And I agree with I agree with both of them. You could always look at it from either direction,
Right.
But like Les said, I think that the core of what he said was, or the key takeaway was that when you're really keyed in to the truth, you won't be fooled by the lie because you will be able to recognize the truth. Is that what you were pretty much getting at, Les?
Yeah, basically, yeah. And I'm talking about on an innate level, like on a spiritual level, that truth
Right.
has a ring. It has a ring to it, like when somebody calls your name, or like when somebody says something that you did back in the past and you know you did it. It's like, it's like it's that familiarity, and that lock, and it can mimic it, but it's just it won't follow all. It's gonna have that. It's gonna be
Yeah.
off note. It's gonna that tone that it strikes is not gonna be pure. And if you are really highly sensitive, if you built yourself up to the sensitivity level to where you can feel when that thing is just not hitting right, or you be like, you know what,
Right.
that just don't sound right. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what's gonna be your, having your antenna tuned to the truth is it almost makes you just uh,
Immune.
yeah, immune to lies for sure.
You know, I was going to respond to that because I'm glad you brought that up because initially I was thinking like, oh, I'm not going to really have much to add to this topic, but the way that the angle that you approached it, I was like, oh yeah, I see what you're saying because one of the big things that I have in advocating and trying to prepare myself for is that with the advent of AI, quantum computing, right, which comes along with deepfakes,
Mhm.
etc., right? We have to be preparing ourselves to be in our top condition spiritually,
Sure.
because that is the only way that we'll be able to recognize and distinguish truth from falsehood,
True.
right?
Sure.
The ability to distinguish truth comes from having a purity,
That's right.
you know, and so that purity comes from, you know, basically not dibbling in things that would contaminate you. Because as soon
Mhm.
as you dibble in things that contaminate you, now you have, you got, debris in your heart that make it hard to see the truth.
Wow.
But being able to see the truth comes with purity, right? And so and that's when your heart is, or your mind, or your soul is absent of contamination.
Mm.
So as we begin to purify ourselves in terms of our thoughts, words, and deeds, there's only three outcomes we can have.
That's true.
You know what I mean? If we purify our thoughts, words, and deeds, we'll be able to recognize the truth when we see it, because at our core, we are the truth. Truth is synonymous with God,
That's right.
and we are spirit, so we're synonymous with the truth as well. You know what I mean? So but our body is synonymous with the lie.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So you hear the saying that the devil is the father of lies.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Well, he's also governing the earth, which your body's made of.
That's right.
So you got truth and falsehood mixed in you, but in reality, you are the body. You only the spirit.
That's
You
right.
know what I mean? So I think it's very important that we key into the fact that the only way that AI and deepfakes and things like that will be able to get to us if we're not keyed into what the truth is. And
Bingo.
that's, you know, it's gonna. I think it's gonna come to a point to where, like right now they're talking about how AI is gonna destroy jobs, but it came to me in a dream a couple nights. It was like towards the end of Ramadan.
Mm.
Like I had already been thinking about the fact that, you know, how AI, I use it a lot. Like I'm an early adopter and I use it a lot. I've been noticing how it will be wrong or how it will flat out lie to you, right?
Mm.
It'll figure out what your inclinations are and tell you things that you want to hear.
Mm.
And so I had to start modifying how I respond or how I prompt it because I have to make my prompts so neutral that it don't know which way I'm leaning
Mm.
in order to get unbiased or try to get unbiased results out of it. And so it came to me in a dream that there's going to be people that's going to be AI checkers. And so while, yeah, they are going to get rid of, a lot of people who are in the legal profession because it's easy for AI to do legal stuff, or they're going to get rid of people who are maybe like translation, right? But there's still going to be the people who are highly specialized because you need to have an AI checker. You need to have someone highly specialized who can check AI.
Right.
And those are going to be some of the most highest paying jobs, and they're going to need it's just as many people as you have now. You're going to need as many AI checkers as possible because you're going to need checkers for the checker.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're
So
right.
now it's about becoming highly specialized, and it's a trip because just a little digression. When I was in college, I had to do a paper in my engineering. I was in engineering. In one of my engineering classes, I had to do a paper, and I ended up interviewing a lot of engineers. Engineers down who like helped design the Toledo water infrastructure. Some who were civil engineers, some mechanical. And what I got from all of them is like, the way that they came up doing engineering was totally different because I was in some of the first waves of engineers who started using computer design instead of, hand drafting. And
Mm.
we were using calculators, they were using slide rules. And so I really started asking them questions more about the old ways of doing things versus the new. And the consensus that I came away with is that, you know, basically we're getting into a dangerous point because we're all living off of the expertise of others, but we don't have that expertise no more.
Mm.
Right.
And because we have not been forced to have that expertise, we lose it. So it's going to get to a point when things start to fail, and we're not going to have the expertise to rebuild it again because those people have passed on and moved on. So now,
Mm.
and I see it a lot in my field because I'm a specialist in my field, and you know, honestly, a lot of I don't even want to throw a number out there, but it's really high. A lot of people don't know their job,
Mm.
and the
That's
more I
true.
saw it in my field, the more I started noticing it just an everyday thing. When I go and got to get something done, at the DMV or maybe wherever, and you start to quiz people about, well, what's your regulation say about that, and you might have to tell them about what their rules say.
Mm.
So I know that's a big. I'm kind of went off course there, but the point is that in order for us to be able to overcome AI, this is really a challenge for us to rise to our higher selves, and this is quickening that responsibility or that challenge because as it really starts to intensify and start to get used, you know this is where the people who are the hyper specialists are going to have to come to the table.
Sure.
But yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. Oh, and then in terms of the personal experience, I got you know one way that is easy for you to get tricked is greed.
Oh
Yep.
wow.
It's one thing.
Yep.
It's one thing for you to be able to recognize the truth. You know what I mean? But sometimes, you know, your lower self will get ahead of you. When it comes to greed. And I give you an example. One day, I'm heavily in cryptocurrency. I buy it, so I've done fairly well with it. And one day, I woke up and saw a video, and it was talking about arbitrage. And that's basically where you can be on one platform buying crypto at one price and go on another platform and the price is different. And so you can buy low at one platform and sell high on another. So I saw this video and it popped up in my feed. I had never seen this guy before, but he was talking about this arbitrage opportunity from a few exchanges that I knew, a few that I didn't. And he was talking about how you can go on this, it was for XRP. And it was talking about how you can go on this exchange or you can go on this platform and it'll show you different prices. And so I hopped on there and I was like, oh, there is a nice difference. And so I saw the ones that had the lowest price, and I looked at some of the platforms I was already on, and basically I found a nice differential. So I went and hopped on the one that had the lowest price, and I was already on another platform that had a decent higher price. So I put the money in there, put in about 4 bands, right? And bought it low, sold it, moved it over to the other platform I was already on, sold it high, boom, it worked. I was like, oh snap. Long story short, I did it like 3 times. I made like 12 grand in the span of like an hour. I tried to do it the 4th time,
Pull that.
and they locked my account.
Oh
I
man.
started looking around. Now, normally I would have never made this mistake, but it was such an opportunity, and I had been looking at these before, but just never tried it. But it was such an opportunity. I was like, oh, this is real. But I didn't even look at the Trust Pilot for the website. I didn't check none of that. And got it. And I was like, wow, I knew better. Normally I would have never jumped on something like that, but that's greed. So, you know what I mean? So that we always have to be aware of how lower self can come out and put you in a bind, So that's my experience. And that was a deep fake. The whole video. That was a deep fake. Like that dude he wasn't even saying that. Like that person that they showed there, that wasn't him. Like somebody had taken his voice,
Oh wow.
his picture, and created this whole video that show, hey, you go here, you go there. And the first website they sent me to was the website that showed all the different exchanges that sold XRP and what their prices were. That was where the liquid. It was in that first website they sent me to, and it was the one that had the lowest price was the fake exchange. So that's a deep fake.
Yep.
Wow. So it comes in different ways, not just politics. It can come like that. But how I could have avoided that deep fake is, one, I should have looked at the Trust Pilot. They had the Trust Pilot for the website on the fake website showing it was like a 5 out of 5. But you're always supposed to go to Trust Pilot yourself and check out their website. I went to Trust Pilot myself. It was a 1 out of 5. Damn. It was an exchange, and they had been through the same thing that got me.
Oh wow.
Wow, man.
And it wouldn't have took nothing but 2 seconds for me to check it, but I didn't. And that's how greed got me.
Hey.
Nah, that's beautiful, man. Horrible for you, but like that's a beautiful example, man. Like what you were saying with the expertise and the specialist, man. One of the things that made Michael Jordan great, even though he was highly athletic, the man had sound fundamentals. And he learned from coaches, old school coaches, how to play the game the right way. And he expounded upon that with his athleticism, his focus and drive. So when we get into a thing, I'm a purist, and that saves me in a lot of situations. Getting into a thing, going to the essence of that thing. I mean, the etymology button on my phone is pushed all the way in. Like I go to the essence of whatever it is I'm about to get into, and I want to learn it from the bottom, like the most rudimentary level. I'll be like, talk to me like I'm 5 years old, so I can get in there and learn it from the bottom, just in case the lights go out, just in case the grid falls in. I can still get this thing to work without all the accoutrements that we enjoy at this particular moment. Because when you look at it, this lifestyle that we live in is not sustainable. And it's the lifestyle that we live in is a fucking deep fake, if you will.
That was a good analogy with Michael Jordan, though.
So go to the nature of it, huh?
You must. As a purist, like we being people from the ground, we being the deeper you dig in the ground, the darker it gets. We being people from the ground, man, we must remain pure, just like you were saying, brother. We must always remain pure. We must study and dig deep in order to see if things are really what they're being proposed to be. Like when that Black Lives Matter thing came out, I was looking at that thing. I was like, I don't. It didn't smell right. It didn't pass the smell test. And to find out that all of these, tricksters was in there, and then, it was really on some LGBT type stuff. Even though I'm not against that, it's just not what I stand for as a man. So like once I found out who was putting it out and where the money was coming from, I found out it was coming from some pretty dark people. I was like, you know what? I don't jump in the cars that I don't know where they came from. I don't just, that's a
True.
good way to go to jail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I see it might be a nice car. It might just be sitting there, might look in there and see the keys in there. That don't mean my black ass need to jump in that car. You know what I'm saying? I'll let somebody else do it and see what happens to them. So, I've missed out on some opportunities that would have been cool. I mean, back in the day, I used to sell weed. I hate to say this, but it was another life. And dude came to me with a nice price for a nice chunk of product, and man, it didn't hit right. And my heart of hearts was telling me don't do it, and I didn't. And I watched him go to another dude with the same deal, and I watched both of those dudes go to jail right in my face.
Man.
So, um, trusting your heart, man, trusting what that feeling that you get in the pit of your stomach with your instincts. I mean, your first mind, or like when I get ready to go out, and my mother would be like, you know what? I don't think you need to go out tonight. And I don't go out, and the car I was about to get in got everybody got busted, or everybody got popped, or somebody got killed. And I look at my mother, and be like, damn, you saved my life. Like it's God will send you something to warn you. Like you will feel like if you are awake enough and you're in tune enough and synchronized enough, you'll be able to smell that rat that's in the middle of the damn plot. So that'll keep you from getting your head chopped off, man.
Man, I've been doing it my whole life, man. I've been in a whole bunch of situations, and then they were like, "When you there last night?" Like somebody got shot up, and I'm like, "Yeah," but something told me to leave. Like this don't look right. This don't even look right, man. Don't look
Yeah.
right at all.
Yeah.
I like what you said about the grid and everything because think about how much we rely on the grid. Just like in Toledo when we had that power outage years ago. You remember that?
Yeah.
And it was but matter of fact, it was everywhere. New York, it was like the whole East Coast.
Yeah.
People was freaking out when the water went bad here. It, when the water went bad, just the things that people rely on. If the grid goes down or something like that, people ain't gonna know what to do. As far as like you talking about from the ground, learning things. A lot of these kids, some of them don't even know how to do simple math. I went to a restaurant and the girl didn't even understand. She didn't know how to give the change back. I gave her like change, like so I wasn't getting coins back, and she couldn't figure out how to do it. It's so many different examples. I was joking with a coworker. We was talking about how kids don't know how to sign cursive. They don't. That math. There's a lot of things that they don't even teach. Kids don't even bring home homework these days. None.
That's it.
So just the little things that they rely on computers, cell phones, everything. The things that we got taught when we were younger is like simple. Math and know how to. They wouldn't know how to do arithmetic of division, subtraction, multiplication without a calculator. Hands down,
Wow.
some kids don't know how to do it at all.
I know you're telling the truth about that.
Pull your
I wrote
microphone
a note
close.
to my kid's teacher, and you would have thought I was an ancient Egyptian because of the kids was looking. They was like, "What is this?" I was writing in cursive. That's how it was taught. And I said, "Y'all don't write in cursive." This is the first time I didn't know that they didn't learn handwriting.
No.
And I said, "How old is your teacher?" Because I had to realize they 25, you know what I'm saying? They ain't learning how to.
They didn't. I know. I taught my boys how to do it.
I had to teach them.
I taught them how to do it. So like Donovan and Caleb knew how to do it, but they didn't teach it. I showed them how to sign their name and stuff like that. Yeah, but
that's all they are showing them is how to sign their name, but they're not teaching them the actual alphabet, of
Right.
How it looks, and man, I thought I was a dinosaur.
Yeah, you feel old sometimes, man.
I ain't talking about just feeling old. I felt like they was discovering writing for the first time. You know how
Yeah,
you be
man.
like, you know how somebody discovered what is this on the wall? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how you
Right.
be
Yeah.
reading about that? That's how I felt. Like, I'm like, look, guys, y'all ain't getting ready to make me feel like uh, I'm ancient Egypt. Look, let me show y'all this. I brought them a cursive handwriting book off Amazon and let them
Wow.
see how it looks.
Yep.
But that's just what it is now, man. That's just
I
what it is
Wow.
now.
I had a situation. I work with developmentally disabled individuals, and one of my clients is trying to get their high school diploma. So he was like 18, 19, and he was still trying to get his high school diploma. Now I had him doing these math things, and I didn't. I was like, "What is you doing?" And he was like doing. He was
They
tapping.
changed the math.
Yeah, and I'm like, I didn't understand how he was getting it. He was getting the answer right, but the way I did it the long way, I didn't get the answer. But he was tapping, he was counting it. I said, man, what you doing,
Is that
man?
the new math?
Yeah, I was like, what you
Quote
doing?
unquote new
But
math?
that's how. I mean, he was. I mean, I'm almost 50, but I mean, this was about 10 years ago. But I'm saying, like, dude was like 17, 18 years old, and he was doing the math. And he was like, that's how they taught me. I'm like, never seen nothing like that in my life. So
Look, man,
That
I went back to Mortimer Frog when we was in school. I don't know if y'all remember that when we was learning how to read. It was Mortimer Frog.
nah, I ain't never heard of.
You ain't never heard of Mortimer Frog?
Uh.
Or Oregon Trail. You heard of Oregon Trail? We used to play that
Definitely
game.
heard of
Nah,
it.
yeah, I heard of that,
Everybody
but
should have heard of it. Yeah,
I heard of
I'm
that.
telling my age now, but when they had the floppy disk that you
Oh,
put in
man.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But you didn't have to worry about too many deep fakes.
Yeah.
With that, I mean, I'm just being real. You didn't have to worry about too many deep fakes with that. But nowadays, man, it's you have to take the education of your children into your own hand.
What y'all?
Yep, it might be a little off subject, but piggybacking off of what they just said, that's one of the ways that they're dumbing the kids down is with this new math. I've considered myself, a mathematician my whole life. I've never had to use a calculator. Everything I do is always in my mind, and with that new math, I got nieces and nephews, 6, 5, 3, and 2.
Yep.
And the way they're teaching them math and the way they're trying to do things, it's almost like they're trying to dumb them down and trying to confuse them so that they can't do the math.
Right.
And then even with the cursive, if you ever read any old documents, especially here in the Americas, old documents, the Constitution, it's all written in cursive.
Yep.
So that's one of their intents with the cursive, not teaching it anymore, because I was born in 2000. So I was taught cursive going in when I was in 3rd grade. My younger brother's only 3 years younger than me, and within that time period of those 3 years, they pulled cursive from the books, and they don't teach cursive anymore. And I feel like that's one of the main reasons why they don't teach cursive is so that we can't go back and read those old documents for ourselves. If you write cursive for these kids nowadays on a piece of paper, they'll be like, what the hell does that say?
Yeah.
It also
you
goes
onto
back
something.
to it also goes back to we being so lazy that we are allowing our enemies to teach our children.
Bingo.
Yeah.
You hit one there, boy. You hit
Yeah.
one right there.
I was just gonna speak on that.
Man, oh man, you hit one right there.
They trying to hide
How
our.
in God's name could we get up every morning, dress our children up every morning, and know in our hearts that we're sending them to get an inferior education without backing them up, embracing them, and letting them know, hey, what you're gonna go in here and learn is not the whole thing. You're gonna have to trust me. I'm gonna have to build a relationship with you that's so solid that you trust me to give you and supplement what the enemy is teaching you. Either that or we get up and we homeschool our children.
Yep.
True.
Yeah.
That's-
My sister homeschools her child. My daughter was living with my my ex, and she was 7 years old. And when she came over to the house one time, I wanted her to do her spelling words. And from my setting her up to do her spelling word, I found out that my daughter couldn't read. And after I cried and had my little private moment, I came in there and I was determined to teach my child how to read, because how in God's name has she made it to the second grade, damn near third grade, and could not read, and none of her teachers saw the shit. This it pissed me off so bad, but I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't do nothing but accept the fact that, hey, I'm sending her to my
Right.
enemy to learn, and it's not an education as much as it is an indoctrination, and they
That,
setting our children up to go straight into the prison pipeline.
Sure.
So, so,
Yep.
oh
so
yeah,
schools look more like prison than they look like schools now.
yes sir.
Yep.
True.
They've got our children walking
The
through
cafeteria,
medical concerns.
all
They
that.
got our
Yep.
children. Yeah, they got. They're hurting. They're mass hurting our children into different. They got them standing in line. They got them learning how to respond to a bell. They got the way school is set up is not school. We've been indoctrinated to believe that in school, but a more traditional school should have someplace where they go outside, learn from nature, learn how to grow things. We are the kids don't even know how to balance a checkbook once they get a full education. They know nothing about nutrition. They know nothing about how to grow things. They know nothing about finance, but they've been taught. They've got the standard American education, and that's a fault of ours for being so lazy to allow our children to be taught by our enemies and feel as though they're going to do our children right when they haven't even done us right.
Now, you really harped on something right there with that one, because I truly, truly believe that one from my heart. Because if you look into other cultures, just say the Mexican culture, the Chinese, they don't
Japan.
rely on these schools to teach their children. They know that they get these to go get this high school diploma in these countries. That's just to go get a job here in this country. They're at home teaching their kids their culture, what's going on, how to balance textbooks. They're teaching their kids at home this stuff. But because we lack the time, and not only lack the time, but we lack the togetherness. Because just like the Mexicans and just like the Europeans and just like the Chinese, they live in big abundance. And father, it's not just on the father and mother to teach this. You got aunts and uncles and cousins and things like that, building a community together within their own little home and teaching each one that. You know what I mean? We're the only group here that thinks and gets mad and thinks that schools are supposed to teach our kids something, and that's not true.
But check this out. Not to interrupt you. Check this out.
I remember I was.
We didn't get taught right. The history books. I mean, when I was in school, there's a lot of stuff I learned way after being in high school, just from watching YouTube and studying and researching stuff myself. And I'm like, man, I never learned this in school. Going back to what you saying, the institutions, everything. I mean, I remember when I was in school, like we had to be in certain halls, or certain floors. It's the same thing. Lunch is just like the prisons, and you got to follow the bell and all that stuff. It's just like a prison. It's just like a prison.
Yeah, and
Just like a prison.
I know we're a little off subject right now, but I feel like this is definitely a subject that needs to be talked about.
Oh yeah, for sure, for
But
sure.
we keep saying this word school, and I'm gonna be the background guy with where words come from.
Okay.
School is from scalare, which is
Right,
Latin for leisure.
Right.
They're literally telling you in the word school that they're doing nothing but leisure. So that's why most of these kids, if they don't have a good backing in the household outside of school, once they graduate from school, that's why you get so much procrastination, because all they were doing in school was leisure. They weren't really learning anything that was really of utmost importance to their livelihood.
And then like
The
teaching
opposite
agriculture and all that stuff, man. That's something that kids need to learn how to do.
Yep.
They don't teach them anything. And now it's so easy to get. I remember we was in school. It was hard. I mean, it was hard. We was the first one that had to come. My class was the first one that had to pass that proficiency test, the statewide test. I was the first class that had to pass it. Your class didn't have to pass it, right?
OGTs,
No, we did not. No, we did not.
We
did not.
His class, my class. He class of '93. I'm class of '94. My class. The only reason I passed the one test the first time, because when I was in eighth grade, the only thing they prepared us for was the government one, and I passed. And plus, I love history, but that's the one I passed. And then I passed the rest of them. You take them 2 times a year. I passed the rest of them the next time my ninth grade year. But the first time I only passed that one, because that was the one they prepped us for in eighth grade.
It's crazy that he said that, because I passed all the proficiency tests my 8th grade year. I didn't have to take them no more. I didn't have to pass them. I didn't have that pressure
To take
pass them after that. But I failed. But they still made you take them after that.
Oh, did
I
you?
failed every year. I went back and looked at my transcript. I
Wow.
failed them every year.
But you had passed them every year, but they prepped
I
y'all for it
passed
though.
every last one of them, even the science because we didn't. My year we didn't have to pass science.
No, I had passed everything.
It was experimental. I passed it regardless. But ninth grade year, so I'm like, damn. When I looked at my transcript, I'm like, damn. What happened between those few months? Like, damn. You get what I'm saying?
I think I didn't take it serious either.
And then after that, every year after that, failed them.
I have friends. My friend passed away, but I remember he took it. He couldn't pass the math, man. He took it 3 times our senior year. He passed. He found out when went to go get he walked, and when he found out when he got his diploma and the thing, he was happy. He almost cried, man, because I was like, Mike, you got it. But yeah, I did. It was people didn't get to walk. I mean,
that's crazy.
I'm telling you, it was bad. I remember the dude didn't pass. I had to go over to his house to buy his graduation tickets. I felt bad, like, hey man, he was like, I don't know about that. I mean, and they already told me, they gave me a list, like, cause my people wanted to come. You only got a certain amount, so I went and bought his tickets. And I was like, man, like, well, they already said you didn't. I felt bad, like, damn.
That wasn't part of that Bush No Child Left Behind, was it? They left every child behind.
Oh, they didn't care back when we came out. They didn't care if you were to go try to get your GED. It was over with. They did not care.
The whole thing what you were saying about the word school, man, the operative word in school is cool. And cool is laid back, chilling, catching. And the reason why we even on the subject matter of school is because school is a damn deep fake.
Mm-hmm.
Point blank. School is a deep fake, man. Just like money. Money is a deep fake. We're talking about what you call a social construct. There's something that has been put into the brain of society, that has been constructed in the mind of society from a higher entity that has implanted some instructions into the mind to believe in a word that has been misused. Because there's no way in hell that the average person could think that the education that you come out with when you leave school is something that's going to have you fit for life. We pass tests in spite of school. We would get the test and it would be almost unrecognizable from what we learned in school. What had us pass the test was from what we learned from our grandparents. My grandparents used to sit down with me and show me how to do math the rudimentary way, with the damn 1, 2, 3 strikes and the 5 going across. Like, they taught me how to carry and all that stuff. And I thought I was like, man, what the hell is this? I was looking at them like, dog, what is this? They taught us how to use our fingers. But they was like, well, my grandparents were like, well, what if you only have 10 fingers? What's going to happen when you get to the 100th place or the 1000th place? You need to learn it like this. And I'm like, damn, my grandparents taught me the way they were taught back in the 20s, bro, back in the 30s. And this was like the 80s. So we're talking about a 60-year difference. And that was the grace of God having me be in those people's presence to learn math the real way. And I felt cheated, not by my grandparents, but by my teachers. So it was, it's eye-opening. And this is why we need to, it's so crazy how society is right now, because the average grandmother is like 35 years old now. And she still going to the club. She still twerking. She still, got the fake eyelashes and the whole lot. So she don't have no depth of knowledge to dig back from, because there's no more big mamas. It's no more big daddies. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Them people have been the soul food and all this other stuff that we bought into, this fake culture that they give us, that Tyler Perry and them give us on TV, that we buy into to teach us how to be black, like we ain't fucking black enough. Man, it kills off the brain trust. So we don't have shit to dig from unless we go back and study for ourselves and then give that to our kids, or we go back to the remnant of the generation that's left and learn from them, sit up under them and learn from them, and humbling yourself and learning from them, and then take it back and give it to. This is what this whole program is about. These seeds, man, planting these seeds that we getting from the elders, bro. We are pretty much the elders at this point. So having a show like this is so vital, because the brain trust is being systematically destroyed.
Yep. Correct. Yeah. So right now we're gonna move on to the next number. We're gonna go to number 4 now. Everybody got all their stuff in about the misinformation era and the numbers, so we can move on.
I think you did a great job, right?
Right.
All right, all right. We're gonna go on to the next one. The next one is how virtual reality is changing human interaction. How virtual reality is changing human reaction. Now, who want to begin on that one? Who want to begin on that one?
Well,
I
mean,
can, or you know,
Okay, go ahead.
I feel like virtual reality changing human interaction is a big thing right now. Especially with these kids. A lot of people are really like into it, like they living through the virtual reality with the VR systems and imaginary friends, and I mean it's wild. It's wild. And I just seen a lot of wild stuff. Just watching on YouTube and stuff, and people getting caught up and then falling in love with virtual characters and stuff like that. It could get real deep. Virtual reality can also be helpful, but you can't get wrapped up into it thinking like that's the only way. I mean, a lot of people really get caught up in it, and it's like their life. Is their life. I got a cousin. I ain't gonna say his name. I remember he was playing some game on the computer, man, and it was like he was meeting chicks and everything. He was like in love. I'm like, dude, like. Never met this person, but it's a computer. It's a computer. I was like, man, it's wild. But yeah, I mean, it's deep. It's deep.
Because they're going. You're right. They're going real far with this virtual reality thing. I mean, because right now, from what I hear, it's even going into the porn industry.
Yep.
Where people are actually getting virtual reality and getting it off with fake ladies online. I mean, because a lot of these things that you have online right now are fake women that I see. I see that all the time on Instagram and things like that. Like a couple females with 3 breasts and things like that. They have so much stuff going on.
Total Recall. Remember Total Recall?
Yes, I do remember Total Recall. And I'm sitting there watching these things like, are we serious? And this person had a whole bunch of views and things like that. And this virtual reality thing can go far left.
First of all, you only got 2 hands, but anyway. You only got 2 hands. But
Look out for that movie Ready Player One.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, that's a very good movie.
That's set in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, was it?
Didn't know that.
Yeah, that's set in Columbus, Ohio. But yeah, when you think about it from that standpoint, when I think about virtual reality, I think about that movie and I think about The Matrix.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and Ready Player One is almost like the step before you get to The Matrix. Because at what point do you fall asleep in VR and then wake up and you still don't know?
Man.
That's an extreme thought, but it can get so real. Then how would you know?
And people don't know how to socialize nowadays.
I
saw a version of VR where you can actually die. And there's a company, Google it. There's a company that made a VR.
That's crazy.
Where the consequence of you losing the game, you can actually die if you die in the game.
What?
And so, I've been in VR sets where, at like conferences where, they take you up on I was at this renewable energy conference, and they took you up on they put you in a chair, and then, they took you up like you was on top of a wind turbine, blowing wind, and you had the helmet on, and it raised you up in the chair, and it felt like you was on, and I'm scared of heights, I was freaking out. You know what I mean? But only thing that was making me not really freak out is because I knew it wasn't real. But it felt real, So, that's one thing to look at. Another thing is that how the children are being groomed, like
Right.
Roblox. That's VR, And my children, man, they will spend as much time as you let them on that thing, And they'll be all 3 of them. Like I got six girls. They all homeschooled, and they'll be the littles. There's 3 of them. They'll all be in the same room. Plus one of the older ones. They'll all be in the same room on different tablets playing the same game in the same room. And it's interesting because they're playing the same game, but in reality, they're not really interacting with each other. They're interacting with the game,
Right.
but in the same room, and that tripped me out, you know. So I think that's a grooming, in terms of what comes next. So
And also how far we willing to let them go that far too, and that's why we got to really watch what our youth is watching out here with this virtual reality stuff going on right now.
Then you got the weirdos trying to contact the kids too. I remember my stepson when he was younger, he was playing Fortnite all the time, and I remember I told his mom like, hey, I was just sitting there while he was playing, watching, but I'm listening to the conversation. Like, who was you talking to? Who asking you? Like, they was asking me questions like, oh, well, like, I can't remember what he was saying. It was something like they shouldn't have been asking that. I'm like, who was that asking you that? You know what I mean? Because I had told his mom, it just felt weird. Like, hold on, man, why is he doing this? Oh, or it'd be like the simplest thing. Like a kid, this one he was probably like, he might have been like 8 or something. He was little though, so I mean. 7 or 8 or something like that, but it was just like, damn, like who was that talking to you? Is that a grown person? Like, who is that? So you gotta watch what these kids do because they get caught up into the games big time. My little cousin loves playing Fortnite now. And he lives in Kansas City, but his dad watches it. He's 9, but his dad watches. He won't even let him add no friends and stuff like that. So you just gotta watch what do with the kids.
And speaking of this virtual reality stuff, has any of y'all seen the things that they're putting up? I think there's a portal in New York, and I think there's a portal in Pennsylvania too, where they actually have a circle portal that's in the downtown, where you can actually look and see different countries at live feed, seeing people in other countries what they're going through.
Oh, I heard of that.
Yeah.
I have seen that.
You've seen it too?
Yep, I heard about that. And there was one in New York first, and they claim it was shut down because of inappropriate stuff happened, like people flashing people on the other side and whatnot.
Of course.
But I seen some reports that it might have actually been deeper than that. That people were passing knowledge through those portals and teaching other people how to speak different languages and teaching them about their culture while they ended up shutting it down.
Oh, see, and that right there is crazy in itself, right there. So this virtual reality thing could go deep. Leslie, you got anything to say on it?
Well, we got off the subject of deepfakes, but we jumped right into the fire of a major deepfake. The virtual, it goes back to that Latin word, like I think it's virtualis, and it means to have something be, but not quite the thing that it's described to be. So we're talking about an agreed upon thing, which is the essence of a social construct. And I remember walking through the mall, and I passed by this like a sharper image, and it was a dude in there with a phone strapped to his face. They had him roped off so he couldn't hurt himself or hurt anybody else because he was so reacting to what he was seeing with the phone that was strapped to his face. And from outside looking in, he looked like a damn fool. He looked like it almost looked as though he was possessed because he wasn't reacting to what was going on in our reality. And back when I was growing up, they lock people up for shit like that. That's schizophrenia. That's psychosis.
Right.
If you're not in the reality that everybody else is in, then you should be separated and treated.
Right.
Until you snap to what everybody else is going through. Have y'all ever seen that movie 12 Monkeys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Dog. we going into some 12 monkey type stuff. You know what I mean? Like virtual reality is a tool, right? Just like fire is a tool, just like a screwdriver is a tool. But if you use fire the wrong way, you'll burn yourself. If you use a screwdriver the wrong way, you'll stab, you cut yourself, hurt yourself. You know what I mean? So with all of these these implements and these tools, there has to be some type of moderation. There has to be some type of a higher understanding of what this thing is, and not allowing oneself to be enraptured by these tools. And because when you have, the thing about it is, and what's so crazy and how this thing is really set up is, there's a thing called the singularity. Has anybody ever heard of the singularity?
Yeah,
Where man
No, I
becomes,
haven't.
No, I haven't
that's
heard.
well,
when AI. That's when AI reaches the point of hyper intelligent, basically, right?
well, it's a little bit deeper than that. That is some of what it is, because AI will get consciousness, or what they call making itself sentient. But what it is, though, once AI becomes sentient and it links up with us, who is also sentient, we become merged. And what they're doing is they're seeking to have us become one with the computer. In essence, escaping um, the punishment from God in a way, or another philosophical point is um, that your life is so bad in reality that you can go to this control reality and make your life way better. And from doing that, and the endorphins that you get from that, you don't want to come back to your real life because it sucks. And they had a study to where people were doing the virtual thing, got the damn thing strapped to their face, and their body is atrophied. The room they're in is a total mess, and the environment outside the room is destroyed. But they're living their lives inside the virtual reality, which is, everything's perfect because it's all manicured and it's all fake. So,
Jump in there real quick.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know what's a preparation for that too, like a
cool.
grooming for that. The fact that when you get on your phone and you take a picture, it automatically does an AI enhancement. Have you noticed that? When you
Wow,
upload that on your phone,
Yeah.
wow. No, I got an
like it's
old phone,
already
bro.
it's
I'm scared to
already
get
doing
one
a
of these.
it's already doing like these phones are already doing a filter. Like it's automatic. You gotta go in there and turn it off.
That's
You know,
crazy.
but in reality though, like, when you go and take a picture, you take a selfie, you take a picture of somebody, you look, you're like, man, that's a good picture. And then realize that it's slightly touched up
Wow, bro.
because the phones are automatically touching up the pictures. And you're like, okay, it look good. I'm gonna just leave it. You know what I mean? But
That's crazy.
that's a preparation. That's a
Hmm.
grooming, for you to accept falsehood. That's not
Yeah,
that's not the way you look right today.
yeah.
I had bags under my eyes and they took the bags out my eyes. You know what I mean?
Hey, you know when you dealing with that dope dealer, the first taste is free. Everything else costs money.
That's true.
That's the
so,
truth.
so
Chasing that first high from after that.
you chasing the dragon, baby. After that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's this thing. Let me tell you something, man. When they started describing the serpent in Genesis, the one key thing that they said about him that trips me down is that he was the most subtle. The word they use, the word subtle, right? So what you saying, man, is leaning towards the subtlety of this beast system that we're up against. And as soldiers, man, and as truth seekers, man, and as scholars, we have got to be so highly tuned that we notice even the subtle. They had brothers in the army, man.
And sense the fairest of impressions.
Okay, they had brothers in the army, bro. Uh, and they, with the dreadlocks, and you know, they would do exercises where they were trying to sneak up on these brothers with the dreadlocks, and that they couldn't sneak up on them. They could only get so close to where the brothers would feel them and start shooting at them. So they took the brothers with the dreadlocks in and got them prepared for basic training and cut the dreadlocks off, and then they could sneak up on them all they wanted to.
Mm.
So, because the hair that's coming from our head is,
Yep.
it's like antenna.
Mm.
So God has given us the tools that we need in order to be able to fight a battle that we didn't even know we was gonna have to fight.
Yep.
Very,
That's
very
that.
true. Very true.
Man, if that's not parenting on a high level, then I don't know what it is. But we got if we fall into this culture, this Greek culture that they got us getting up into, where you got to be clean cut and saving so you can be, more appropriate for whatever, job position you're trying to get. That is going against what we've been put here to actually be. And they know that. They know who we are. We just don't know who we are. So when we procure ourselves and we try to manicure ourselves to be able to fit into what society wants from us, we're divesting ourselves of our power.
Indeed.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and I think one more thing about virtual reality that I don't think anybody's really mentioned is what a lot of people nowadays are using FaceTime. Nope. Nobody's really interacting in person anymore, especially ever since, that thing in 2020 where they made sure people stayed away from each other and weren't interacting in person with each other. That goes into what you were saying about our hair being an antenna. It's not just the antenna with the hair on your head. It's the hair on your body, your legs, everywhere on your body. They're all antennas to pick up frequencies off of the people around you. So now more than ever, we're not picking up frequencies from the other people around us at all. So everybody's interacting through the FaceTime or the Zoom or the Skype, all these video apps and video things that we're interacting off of now. And nobody's interacting in person anymore.
You said some deep stuff, because one of the major things in being a human is to be touched. And they've done a study that the timing in between a person being touched by another person is starting to get longer and longer. And so we are denying ourselves our humanity because we're not touching or being touched. So they got these love robots that they getting ready to bring in. Your boy Elon Musk getting ready to bring these love robots in. And they got, now listen, and I'm trying not to be, this is a family show. I'm trying not to be too explicit, but at the same time, man, they got dolls, bro, in Japan that they can't even keep on the shelves because men are buying these dolls and dressing them up and having tea with them, eating with them, taking them out, sitting them down, because people in Japan are so they're into a deeper level of the virtual reality than we are, because their technology is a little bit more advanced than we are, and they are suffering from they have what's called inhibition when it comes down to just meeting the fair sex. They like, instead of facing rejection like a man should be used to be able to do, they don't face rejection. They just go and buy them a doll, $1,500, $2,000 for this doll, and they'll rather be with this doll than try to take their chances at being with a female. And the females are starting to do the same thing. So what you're seeing is people that are in the presence of each other, but they're not experiencing each other.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what they're able to do now is just like what you see in the Matrix. We're becoming more and more like batteries that provide power for the system, but we're not providing power for each other.
Correct.
So we're just being put in a pod and having the power usurped from us. So we're serving, like, we're turning more and more into cattle. We're turning more and more into a tool, because
sheep.
We're not experiencing. We don't have the human experience anymore. And the system is not broken. People keep talking about the system is broken. The system is not broken. It's operating exactly the way it should.
The way that the way the creators of that system designed it.
Sure.
Exactly. But see, what you can't throw a frog directly in hot water. He's gonna jump out. So what you do is you put the frog in some temperate water, and you gradually turn the heat up. So he started feeling good after a little while, and then after a little while he's dead because he don't even realize that the temperature been turned up on him gradually. And that's what they doing to us.
Yep. And they're also making us, with this virtual reality, they're making us focus even more on purely our sense of sight with our eyes, and to see to believe, as they say. When a lot of times, especially nowadays, that's what they're doing, is fooling your eyes to try to make you believe in what they want you to believe.
Wow. And that word believe got the word. It got the word lie right in the middle of
Et- Etymology at its finest. Etymology at its finest. Brandon, you got
it.
anything to add to the virtual reality before we move on?
Only thing I would say, I think it all ties together. Virtual reality and the deep fake. I think it's going to be. I don't think those are two different subjects. Really, it sounded like it was really all one.
Wow.
And I think that it's going to coincide. They're going to use AI and virtual reality, and it just all, like I said, it all just ties back to what everybody's been saying about us staying. I'm going to use my own words and say just staying grounded spiritually. You know,
That's right.
being able to. I think the Bible says something to the effect, if they could fool the very elect. You know what I'm saying? And I just think all of that coincides with each other. That's all I got on that. I'm not the expert on that. That's
Very true. Very true. Very true.
Coincide, man. That's coincidence, and we doing an investigation, so we cannot ignore the coincidence.
cannot.
No, we cannot.
One
You're
one
right.
thing that we gotta be careful of too is we're looking at it from the standpoint of saying, okay, these are things to be aware of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, we have to always, put the responsibility on ourselves to restrain
Right.
ourselves.
Buyer beware.
Because, yeah, because it's out there, for convenience, and somebody just said, it's operating exactly the way it's supposed to.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean that we have to overindulge in it,
That's true.
you know. And so understanding that, hey, these are the ways that it's leaning, it's basically playing to my lower desires, and I might need to restrain myself from using it. And somebody brought up a really good point about about how just us being visual, and now we're not interconnecting as much. Like we've seen that with our temples. We have temples nationwide, right?
Mm-hmm.
More science temples. And since COVID, I would say 90% to maybe even more temples have stopped meeting in person. It's still meeting via Zoom.
Mm.
Even though the COVID, the reason why we started is over. We got lazy, you
Yeah.
know, and meet via Zoom, So that takes out the aspect of fellowship, like you said, touch, you know what I mean? Being able to connect with people. And, you know, now you look at it, and, I've been married for 18 years now, but another aspect of that is dating is it's acceptable to be dating online. Like when I got out the game, it was to me I looked at it as lame and weird to go and find somebody online. Now that's the regular,
Yep.
but like someone said, you're not in the room with them, so you don't get to feel, you don't get to feel their energy. You don't get to say, what, their spirit don't vibe with mine,
Mm.
you know. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
Can
you
I
don't
add to
feel
that
you don't feel
before we
more.
move on?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to add to what Keith said. I think that's very important. What he just said as far as um, being in the same room with somebody and getting that interaction. It's like what they used to say when we go to church. It's a difference when you get in the atmosphere. Like when I go to I can work out on my own. You know what I'm saying? I get up 4:30. I walk for an hour or whatnot. Put my little hiking backpack on, and But it's different when I go to the gym. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm around other beings and I get that vibe, that energy, that um, it's almost like a recharge too. Because you can
Motivation.
go right, it's motivation. You can do it on your own, but I'm like, man, I see, man, dude over there, no homo, but I see dude over there like lifting. I'm like, damn, let me go throw, let me go throw up some weight. You know what I'm saying? It's different. And it's crazy because I was listening to somebody else talk about their dating and stuff and how they like a bunch of pictures first when they talking to. I'm like, why don't you just say something to the girl? Ain't that what we used to do back in the day?
Yeah.
We so scared of rejection that we ain't gonna go talk to nobody. We just okay, let me like a bunch of their pictures first, and then if they what I mean. I thought that was weird. I'm like I thought it was weird. I've been married for 12 years, and we go through it. We go back and forth. We go through it, but man, to listen to somebody, and I'm like, so that's what you do first? You like the pictures, heart them or whatever, and then you might say something to them. I was like, that's the new game.
and a lot of these
That's the new game.
and a lot of these young men can't take rejection because most of the time when they get rejection, all of a sudden now this girl is a bitch. You actually ready to go to physical altercation with the girl because she rejected you.
And the thing is, we don't teach them that it's the thrill of the hunt. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, man, you used to have to be kind of like the Dos Equis man. You know what I'm saying? The most interesting, you need to be read and be able to hold a conversation and be able to talk about more than just trying to send her your dick pic. My bad, you know what I'm saying? My bad. Like, but you had to be kind of interesting. You know what I'm saying? Like, be able to hold that conversation. I guess that's an old school way of doing things.
It's crazy because
but is it really old school though? Like, should that be gone?
I went to I'm gonna get off of this, but I went to an insurance conference and whatnot, and I was just I'm just being me. When I go to the bar, hey man, let me get an old fashioned. I know what I want. You know what I'm saying? Now, to me, I'm just ordering a drink, but to them, I was surrounded by like 25. I'm gonna say 25 to 30 euros. But to a few of them, it was like, man, you really know what to order. You drink. I'm like, what do you drink? What do you? But it was the whole. It was about the presence of it though. You know what I'm saying? Being able to. I said, well, it depends on. I'll march to the beat of my own drum. Like I ain't ordering Top Shop because somebody else is ordering. I like Stella. You know what I'm saying? It just depends on how I'm feeling or what what the situation is. But they was like it was. I thought it was weird because it was nothing. It's a minute thing to me. But they just thought that was just the most badass thing. Like, y'all living in the virtual reality.
I was gonna
or
say
AI, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
I was gonna say on the
correct.
I was gonna say on the flip side, you saying that young men or men don't know how to talk to women. Women don't know how to talk to men because all they want to do is show their body on Facebook.
Yeah.
And have to show their body on Facebook, and I mean, as men, we gonna look, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, that's all you're gonna be to them. So that goes hand in hand. That's why they're gonna show the D pic in the inbox or say something off, and then you get rejected, and then now they all bees. I can remember we was in the mall. It was a few years back. Me and my wife was walking, and this dude, he was talking so bad, and I said don't say nothing because I didn't even feel like fighting with nobody. But she was so upset. But I don't these YNs nowadays, they be strapped. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, he was disrespecting this girl, and I was like, and my wife was like, I couldn't be with nobody like that. I was just like, just don't even say nothing, But I mean, that's how they are. They're used to that. They like being talked to like that, and it's messed up. It's real messed up.
One more thing, but like speaking to what you were saying there, I was talking to my little cousin, and I'm trying to tell him like, hey man, rejection is good, man. I said it's not bad because she rejected you, man. I mean, what did she say? You know what I'm saying? Well, because of the way you look, she ain't batting on that team. She may not be batting. She may not be batting that way. But what I was trying to explain to him was like, man, back in the day, we didn't care about rejection. It was a numbers game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You just next one. Oh, okay, man. Whatever. You know what I'm saying?
On to the next.
On to the next. But it's man. You should have seen him, man. It was different for him, man. It was like I told him to go, ask for a girl's number. Man, go get her number, man. And when she said no, it was just, oh, I don't know why I listened to you. I can't believe. I'm like, damn, did it ruin your week?
But you know what?
Did it ruin?
These kids' days, they build different too, man.
Did it?
They build different.
I was gonna speak. I was getting to that. It feels like when I was growing up with my dad, because he's from the South, and we had to have grit. I can't explain what that is, but it's something where it's just different. Like I can't quit. Like if we was moving this house, I had to go grab the refrigerator. I couldn't grab like a little stand or something. You know what I'm saying? And I better be able to lift that shit.
Yeah.
It was just different. Where now it's like, because when I go that route with my boys or even my girls, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you being too hard on money. I ain't being too nothing. Man. If it was good for them and good for me, it's definitely good for them. You know what I'm saying?
Bro.
Yes, sir.
But I think, well, that's another subject. I don't want to get too far off on that. I feel we about to go somewhere with that. But it's just that our parents grew up, we had to grow up with grit. That's the only thing I can call it. I can't call it nothing else because I don't know what else to put on that. But we had to have that grit. So like when I remember my first day at kindergarten with my dad. I was scared to go in there. I was terrified. I couldn't tell him that. You know what I'm saying? Because I would have got a whooping. But my first day at kindergarten, I was terrified. And he said, and I think my dad kind of knew it. And he looked at me. He says, "Hey, come on, let's go in here." So I'm like, "Damn." You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, "Damn." I still remember this day. I'm 43, about to be 43. I can still remember it. He said, so I'll go in there, walk in there. It's thousands. I felt like it was thousands of kids. Probably was like maybe 50, but it felt like thousands. Thousands of kids in there, man. And he said, "What you want some breakfast? Come on, man." So he take me to the lunch lady. After that though, it was cool as fuck. Like I could walk in there. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I could do whatever because my dad, I don't see him do it. I see my older brother in there too. He never invited me to come with him with nothing. He in there looking like this nigga. You know what I'm saying? But once my dad did it, and he, like I said, he must have saw my fear. This is the importance of having a father. He must have saw that. And I thought I was gonna get a whooping because it felt like we got a whooping for everything. You know what I'm saying? I didn't go lie to you. But he didn't do that. He didn't do that. He just said, "Come on in here, boy. Let's go on in here." So we go in there. I meet the lunch lady. I got kids. I felt like the whole school was looking at me. But after that, fuck them. That's how I felt.
That's right. Yep.
My dad did that though. You get what I'm saying?
Intestinal fortitude.
He gave me
intestinal fortitude, baby.
It gave that instantaneously gave me grit. Because now that I seen he did it, I did it. And after that, I didn't have no problem going in there. But
they used to talk about that thing. They used to talk about that thing on wrestling or like on football. They call it intestinal fortitude. It's basically saying that you got some gonads about yourself as a man, as a go-getter.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we losing the gonads. Like testosterone levels at an all-time low in young men due to different environmental setups and whatnot. But then you can do things to cultivate testosterone. Exercising, what they call resistance training, squats, stuff like that, your diet. And it also was what you take into your body as far as information. You can cultivate testosterone through what you learn and through what you consume, even with your eyes and your ears. So this wussification of the nation that's going on is in full swing, bro. Like it is, and it is by design. It's not no accident. It's not a coincidence. This shit is something that needs to be spoken on, especially by men in our society. And not with the when the housing thing came, there couldn't be no man in the house, or you lose your spot. Then the dope game hit, and all the fathers got either killed or locked up. And then we had these environmental issues to where whatever they want to call it, crime. And I can't use what they call it, but because that's a deep fake right there. But just crime in our community, taking out the brothers, and Operation COINTELPRO is really what is the umbrellas that covers everything that I was just talking about. And if you do yourself a favor and look up Operation COINTELPRO, I dare you. If you don't know what it is, look up Operation COINTELPRO, because we still in the fourth leg of Operation COINTELPRO. And part of that is to dismantle and keep from having a black messiah come up from the ranks of our community. J. Edgar Hoover was so scared of having another black messiah come up from the ranks of our community, that he instilled this Operation COINTELPRO thing. So we're still suffering from it. Willie Lynch, we still suffer from Willie Lynch syndrome,
Yes,
and
sir.
so these things, and they said if properly, and some of the techniques in Willie Lynch, they said if properly enacted, they would last for hundreds and hundreds, even 1,000 years. So for people to say that what we went through as a people that don't have an effect on us today are people that have not studied the techniques that were used and why they still so prevalent today. If you look at the
Correct.
trademark on Levi's, where they got the two horses pulling the jeans apart, they used to do that to us,
Yes, sir.
and that is a sign for our people. It's a what they call it, predictive programming. That this is what will happen to you if you go so far as to be one who will stand up for your people. You'll be strung up by horses and pulled apart. These were some of the techniques that they use. Buck breaking. Would look that up and see what that gets you. And all of these other things, that techniques that they use. The one that they used was mistrust, and they installed mistrust in our
Man.
community. And once they install mistrust in our community, it's something that we're gonna have to war against in order to get the continuity back in our community again. And that's leading into the next segment, which will melanated people be able to get back together. What we're gonna have to do is read really list to see what was used, so that we can do everything to reverse that thing. The tools that have been put in place in order to have us suffer what we're suffering, we must study in order to be able to engineer them and conquer them as a people. But first, we have to realize that it's been designed for us, and everybody else is getting the benefit of it. Everybody else is getting, some of the pitfalls from it. But it was strictly designed to stop us from being the people that we should be on this planet. And if
Now,
we're not in position, then everything else is out of position.
now, good. You said that. This is going to lead into. I might as well put them together then. This is going to lead into our last final question, but I'm gonna put the two of them together. Aliens, are we alone? Right?
Wow.
And what can melanated people do to come together? Now, from my studies, you know what I mean. The stuff that's going on here. I mean, I don't know if you've heard about the galactic wars and things like this.
Well,
I think this has to be a lot of. That's why I put them together. A lot of alien stuff is going on. Right? What really are aliens? Who really are aliens? Have they been here this whole time? Are we aliens, melanated people? Are Europeans are Europeans aliens? Some of these things got to be discussed and answered. You know what I mean? And then because of that, going into why can't melanated people come together? I
right.
believe this is from a galactic war. That's just my belief. And we're gonna hit the floor with that one right there. This is the last and final question of the night, fellas. What y'all think about that?
Well,
So,
the question I always ask is, how can you be on this planet, and the thing that gives life and major light on this planet affects you negatively? That's a major sign that you might not be from here.
Yep.
Correct.
so,
Correct.
in terms of segueing into this discussion, brother mentioned Willie Lynch,
Mm-hmm.
and Willie Lynch is that whether or not some people fake, right? Or may have been proven to be fake, but the concepts in it are real, and we can see those concepts working, right?
Mhm.
But the Willie Lynch letter tells you what its only susceptibility is of that program. Does anybody know what it is?
Nope.
Love.
It tells you. Anybody got a guess?
Love.
The susceptibility, you
Nope.
said?
There's a susceptibility to the Willie Lynch program.
I think
Togetherness.
when it talks about instilling the fear into the young and
Nope.
through the mother.
Nope.
It's to keep us down, right?
Well, that's the goal of the program. But in that program, when he's laying out, you rear the Negro like a horse,
Right,
right?
right.
And he talks about how you put the woman in front of, you rearrange the marital
hierarchy.
relationship, the sexual relationship. Put the woman in the front, put him in the back, destroy him in front of her, so she knows that he can't protect her.
That's
And
right.
then we negotiate through her. It's
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
what it says. But there's one thing that it said that will correct all of that you got to be aware of. It said otherwise this will spin on its own axis for hundreds of years. Right? He said you had to introduce historical falsehoods. Right? But the only thing that that would shut the whole program down is he said that nature tends to correct itself. And he said, and if they get the historical truth of their history, it will destroy this.
Mhm. Mhm. That's
It's right
mass
there in the
awakening.
Willie Lynch letter.
That's mass awakening.
I gotta go back and
And so
read that.
it's been a while because we used to teach a class on it in the temple. But I think it's right at the section where he talks about how historical false narrative had to be introduced because you would basically never be able to climb out of that conundrum they put you in after the males ability to protect the woman is destroyed, and the woman is now relying upon them instead of relying upon our men,
That's right.
right? So a historical basis and truth as to who you are, what your history is, would destroy it.
Mm.
And I would also posit that that's the same thing that we have to establish as the basis for unity, because black could never do it, because the term black is something that they gave us,
Yep.
right?
It's a social construct.
It's not something that we ever called ourselves. It's not something where we identified with, right? And that whole term is charged with
Negativity.
negativity, right? When you see someone that's black or someone who calls themselves black, automatically the world knows that this person doesn't know who they are.
That's right.
They have no healthy culture to attach to that will keep them within the bounds of a certain parameter. Like, for example, with the Jews, they're gonna know certain things not to do. Mexicans, they don't do certain things because it's outside of their cultural norms, right? The Polish, them as well, right? They all have different cultures that keep them within a certain range of expectations. But being black, you have no range of expectations other than mostly negative expectations.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So right now, our music, like music is culture for everybody, but our music destroys our culture.
Yep.
That's right.
It puts the woman in front of the man still, and it's perpetuating Willie Lynch. It's separating. Oh, I got this, he ain't got that.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm big and he little, right? She pretty, I'm ugly. You know what I mean? So we're really now we taking it Willie Lynch and perpetuating it, and the only way to correct it is to get some historical basis on the truth, you know. And so I would posit that we have to go back to the last living truth that we was before we fell, because you can't really get up from somewhere you didn't fall from. You know what I mean? You
Right.
got to get back up from the same spot that you fell from, and we fell identifying as Moors. You know, it was the Moors who they said, you know what, we got to overtake them. You know what I mean? After we did all that we did, you know. So from that standpoint, that has to be the basis that we began to unite. So I'll leave it there.
Anything but the word black, because the word black is a deep fake. There's no nationality in black. There's no legal standing in black. There's no there's no substance in the word. We are literally not black. Nobody's black and nobody's white. So these are social constructs that we're trying to build. It's like you building your house on sand, because
Right.
there's no there's no way that you can capitalize off of a lie. Like, I could literally make a song about killing a dog, and that song would get no airplay because that's it's wrong. But I could turn around and make a
Everybody
song
loves
about
dogs.
everybody loves that. But I could turn around and make a song about me killing my brother, and I could go platinum.
Right, right, right.
So
And even the dog got a nationality. A German Shepherd got a nationality.
come on with it.
Man.
Come on with it. You know. There's something innately wrong with a culture that's being pushed, promiscuity, drug use, murder of your own people, uh, uh, doing things to get incarcerated and to help perpetuate the privatization of prisons. Like me and Tone can get together and buy a prison and also buy a record company, and there's no conflict of interest in us having young black men saying about killing each other and filling up our prisons. Nobody's investigating that. That's a coincidence. That's a coincidence. We can't overlook that coincidence. So like, there's something innately and deeply wrong with being able to write a song about destroying your own people, and no one is saying anything about it. As a matter of fact, it's perpetuated, it's celebrated. That's wrong. But we've been numbed down to it with the soldiers for Germany back in World War II. They didn't start off doing what they did. They started off throwing frogs in the fire. They started off throwing dogs in the fire. Then they got to the point where they was throwing individuals in the fire. So we've been desensitized to the wrongs that have been perpetuated on our people. And it's through the system that this desensitization has happened. And that is not a broken system. That's a system that's working perfectly. So, what can we do as a people to combat that? Is to be able to understand that we come from a royal ilk. We come from a royal fabric. Our history does not start with slavery, bro. Our history, I'm gonna repeat that. Our history does not start with slavery. When you go to school, first thing they teach you, oh, you was a slave in front of everybody, God and everybody. We go to a huge humiliation ritual right there at school.
Yep. Yeah.
So, so as soon as the subject of slavery comes up, everybody turns around and look at the dark skinned people in the room.
Right.
Man.
Exactly.
Especially when you're
So-
the only one in the room. You ever been the only one in the room?
Yep.
Especially when you're the only one in the room.
My wife is from the Bahamas, right?
Mhm.
And I remember she was the first person who I would have called black to tell me I'm not black. And I was like, "What you mean you're not black?" She was like, "I'm Bahamian. I'm not black."
Right.
And we were in college then, right? And I'm arguing with her with my ignorant ass about how she is black. She's telling me, "No, I'm Bahamian." I didn't understand nationality,
Right.
right? And fast forward, we ended up getting married. And I remember she got a call from her mother, and she was like, so and so, I forget the girl's name, she moved to Cincinnati, right? And so, my wife was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna give her a call." And so, they're from the island, you know what I mean? So She hangs up and she was like, "Oh yeah, so and so moved to Cincinnati. She got married down in Cincinnati. We got to get with them." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I was like, "That's one of your friends?" She was like, "Actually, no, I hate her. That was one of my enemies." I'm like, "What?"
Mm.
She was like, "Yeah." And she started telling me the story about how they was enemies in high school, right? And I'm like, "So why are you trying to go hook up with her?" She was like, "Cause she Bahamian." I mean, that was high school.
Togetherness,
You know
bro.
what I mean? And that blew my mind. That blew my mind because I was like, so even though they were enemies, the nationality, you know what I mean, was bigger than that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what bound them together.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting. Now, fast forward, I ended up joining the Moorish Science Temple of America, right? Where in order to join, you have to proclaim your nationality as Moorish American. I found the same thing, the same binding power occurred automatically with Moors. Because I could see a Moor, if I got my fairs on or somebody see the L on my name, and they say, "Oh, are you Moorish?" Yeah. Then automatically it's, "Oh, peace, bro," or "sis." You know what I mean? And then the whole discussion is different, right? It's the glue that binds us. And it's not the fact that we're saying that we can't be bound with black people, but it was an automatic understanding of at least we endeavor toward the same thing. We endeavor to recognize who we were and to embody them principles, because along with being Moorish comes being excellent. It's not like you can just claim to be Moorish. In truth, when you say that you're Moorish, you have a higher expectation as to what you're going to turn out like.
That's
because of what we did for the world. You know what I mean? And so I thought it was real interesting how everybody who I've met, right, who declared their nationality as Moorish, we all have that same glue as well.
That's right. We are royalty, bro. Be it Moorish royalty, Egyptian royalty, Hebraic royalty. Shit, I don't even care if you're talking about Christian royalty. I don't care what it is. Black people have always been the vanguard, and the reason why people don't want this information is because with royalty comes responsibility,
Right.
and with royalty comes
Correct.
with royalty comes discipline. And with royalty, you have to be held to a higher standard because you cannot do the things that bring shame to your bloodline, your royal bloodline. So there's a lot of black or brown or melanated people out there that know that they're royalty but won't accept the moniker because they want to keep living that fool lifestyle. They want to keep cooning out there in them streets. And then you got the gatekeepers with Pastor Pork Chop out there and Pastor Pinky Ring out there that's teaching everything but what we are. If I go to your church and you don't sit down there and let me know that the people in the Bible were my people, well, then I really don't have no discussion with you. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to hear nothing else that you had to say. If you sit up in there saying Black Moses as opposed to just saying Moses as if Moses was anything but black, well, then you are perpetuating the lies that's trying to keep my people down. So, like, we dude, there's so many whistles, like dog whistles, that go by that try to push the fact that the negativity of blackness. I walked into my house from DC, and one of the kids in there was like, "Oh, damn, you in all black, you look evil." I said, first of all, black is not an evil color. Black is all colors combined. I said the galaxy is black. You know what I'm saying? I said the higher knowledge. When you start to get into higher offices, that's black. When I get into higher levels of martial arts, I get my black belt. And so, black is the culmination of things. Shit, the coffee you drinking, that's black.
The ocean black.
Okay, so
Come out of the womb
I
black.
mean, growth and life and the initiation of struggle, which brings on strength, is born in blackness. So we got the angel food cake is white and the devil food cake is black. Like they do so much to put the negativity in our mind. We have got to come together to establish the fact that darkness is not synonymous with evil. So that we can get the negativity and that slave mentality and break those chains that have been placed on us, that they're invisible. We don't even see them, but they're there in vocabulary and in inference when people are speaking or when certain things have been brought up. And it's deep down in our psyche, and we don't even realize that it's there. So how can I love my brother if I don't love myself? If I'm hating myself, if I'm constantly looking at the images from off this scrying mirror that we call the tail light vision, if I'm constantly inundating myself with those negative images, well, then I'm gonna hate myself. And the hate that is within myself is gonna keep me from being able to love anybody else, not even just my brother, just
Yep.
anybody else. So I won't be able to have a good relationship with my woman. I won't be able to have a good relationship with my children. And then when I go outside, I damn sure won't be able to have love for my brother. So
Correct.
we gotta put ourselves on a diet from this damn boob tube, and we gotta put ourselves on a diet from Pastor Porkchop, who is getting money from the government to perpetuate the lies that's keeping us down. We go to the church, all we hear about is Boaz, the Easter story, and Adam and Eve. The same shit trotted out every year. They don't teach. Ain't nothing getting outside the curriculum. It's cool to eat pork. It's cool to do. Man, come on, bro. The, yeah, there's no continuity in what we're being taught in these institutions, these church institutions. There's no continuity. That's why people so down on Christianity. That's why people so down on the Bible, because it's not being taught the right way. So if we're gonna come together as a people, man, we're gonna have to study, bro. We're gonna have to go
Right.
to the
Yeah.
Moorish Science
Right.
Temple. We're gonna have to go to the Moorish Science Temple. We're gonna have to go to the mosque. We're gonna have to go to the masjid. We're gonna have to go to the temple, the Hindu temple, and learn, bro, and start to see like how what it is that brings people together. What it is that what a successful society looks like in order to bring that to our people, so that we can have something to be bound in, and kill this ghetto ass mentality that is being perpetuated and that's so pervasive within our community, bro. I live in DC, bro. It's one of the blackest cities in the country, and just walking down the street, man, I see people out there stooped over, high off heroin, drinking, fighting each other, shooting each other. Man, the community out here is like a stereotype for everything else that's going on in this country. It's like they started here. You know what I mean? We got some of the most heavily ignorant dudes out here that you could ever come across. It's stark, and I stand out and I talk to some of these brothers. I pull them to the side, at the risk of my life. And I'm like, hey, bro, can you tell me what's your 5-year plan? What you mean the 5-year plan? They don't even know they don't even know the basics of trying to establish something to get themselves out of the rut that they're in. They don't even see themselves in a rut. So this shows like this, man, podcasts like this, brothers taking time out their day away from their families to sit down and sacrifice and do things like this. This is at a fundamental. This is a seed level, inspirational type of endeavor that we're embarking on, and it must be done. If we don't do it, somebody else got to do it. And since we're doing it, hopefully that will inspire somebody else to do it. Because once you step into greatness, it gives people permission to become great themselves.
I've heard that before.
Right.
Yeah.
So look. So since you just said that, I got an excerpt right now from Kenneth Copeland, who describes.
Wow.
We talk about who black men really are. Listen to this, fellas. Tell me what you think it is.
My whole life I ate sugar.
Completely convinced he's ebony black. Why? Has the white man, the yellow man, the brown man, anyone been persecuted like the black man? No. Why? Well, the color of the skin. That's what I'm trying to get over to. I'm convinced he was ebony black and gorgeous. Have you ever seen ebony,
I don't hear you.
the wood itself and the grain?
That's you, Keith?
And he had musical instruments built within him. Everything but the trumpet, that's God's.
Hold on one second.
Phil Driscoll let me know that for sure. Now, to me, that answers a big question. Completely convinced he's.
Well, what the excerpt was, it was Kenneth Copeland on stage with some black people in the audience, and he's saying that the devil is a gorgeous ebony black man. Now what kind of program is this man putting out here in the middle of a church conference? Right then, the melanated people in the audience should have got up and left right then. So you don't give us credit for nothing else but to describe us as what? The ebony black man was Satan? Come on, fellas. Come on, fellas.
Yeah.
Come on, fellas. And so if we don't do this teaching and things like that, you know what I mean? It has to begin now. It has to begin right now in these moments, because the Europeans, they're going to mislead the rest of our kids. Think about somebody who really doesn't know about the Bible and then listening to hear this guy say this. That's just like when we were in school again. Just to start thinking, well, man, maybe we are Satan. Maybe we are Satan's children. Are we serious? Are we serious?
Deep fakes.
Well, the Mormons used to think that we were, our black skin was the mark of Cain.
That I was just about to say that, bro. You took the words right out of my mouth. There's a lot of they use our blackness as an excuse to enslave us. They try to link us back to Moses' son Ham, and that he saw his father naked, and him seeing his father's nakedness made him one of the curses from doing that made him to be a slave of for the rest of the brothers. So there's a lot of deep fakes and pump faking that's going on that can be used against us if a person is not properly studied, mainly ourselves, because we come from the bloodline of Shem, not Ham, and so that whole argument is moot once that bit of studying has been done. So it's subtle, like we were talking about earlier. The stuff that is being done is very, very subtle, all the way up to highly obtuse. So, I feel sorry for the youngsters that's coming up, because the lines are being clearly drawn, because the devil is running out of time. Satan, his soldiers, all the whomever you say, this evil entity is, there's no denying that there's evil in this world, and that it is getting more pervasive due to the fact that we're in the end times. So as soldiers, brother, and as scholars, we got to stand up at the risk of the sword to the neck. We got to stand up and say the truth, because there's going to come a time when just speaking the truth can get you killed. So we got to speak the truth now, while we can still do it for any length of time without having our heads taken.
I would say that I agree with that, but I would also say, in addition to that, we have to establish some type of action that we can rally around.
Mm-hmm.
Because unity. How are we demonstrating this unity? Right, it has to be a functional unity.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
and it has to be able to advance us on some front that we decide is the most important or the most feasible. So, what would be the action that we would put behind this unity, that we would all, what initiative would we rally around?
Brother, like, okay, first of all, taking care of our plight as far as schooling, like we were talking about, being able to provide food, making ourselves self-sufficient within this society, but getting respect built up amongst ourselves through being able to do for ourselves. Provide jobs, provide education, provide food. So I'm a strong proponent of teaching gardening skills, teaching children on how to grow something, because just the whole act of growing something instills a type of confidence. Um, so even if it's not religious, or let's just say it is religious, or religious based or God based,
Yeah, it could be anything. It could be anything.
right?
Just something that we gonna do together.
Right. I feel as though getting together and growing something, getting together and having the work that we put in provide some fruit in a literal sense, could be something that, because see, we already know what we disagree about. We need to get together on what we agree about, and can't nobody get mad at food, and
Right,
and and being able,
right.
and being able to establish a dietary plan for ourselves in order to crush this system that is oppressing us. I mean, how you gonna get up and stand in line and vote for your damn oppressor? I feel like that's one of the stupidest things we can do as a people. But there's a lot of people that talk about we people die for voting and stuff like that. That's another deep faking for us, as far as I'm concerned. But that might not make it too far. But putting a seed in the ground and watching it grow and produce the fruit of its kind is so fundamental, and it's so essential to being able to solve some of the problems. So just taking out some space, and sitting down showing these our babies how to grow something, um, could be an action that is put forth that people can rally around, and whatever uniform they want to wear. You want to wear the fez, you want to wear the tunic, you want to wear the small hat, you want to wear the dashiki, whatever the hell it is you got on. Getting your hands in them in that dirt and growing something is something we can all agree on.
Now, does anyone else? Have you need to chime in or anything, Brandon? You want to chime in about the?
What I what I would say, I think what Leslie just said was very important as far as teaching those kind of skills.
Yeah.
We definitely need that in our community. But I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna go back to when I first met Keith. Now I know Leslie said his opinion about voting, but I actually think that's important, especially if they're addressing our needs and our concerns. I think with all of us together doing bloating, voting block, I think we need to revisit that.
I like local level government.
Yep.
City going to city council meetings,
Yep.
showing up in numbers.
Yeah.
You can almost see instant change with city level activities. On a national level, it's a little bit slower just by nature of the amount of people that's involved. But
Right.
whatever municipality that you live in, getting up, going to city council meetings on the first and third Wednesday or whenever the hell they have them, there are almost no black people in those functions, and so
Yep.
rules and stuff is getting passed over our heads because we are not conscious enough to be in those buildings when that stuff is being discussed
Yeah.
and being talked about. Our needs are not being met because our voices aren't being heard because we're not there to speak. So I'm not completely and utterly against voting, but for more instant change or more visible change or visceral change, that city level municipality, city level politics are something that I feel like we should be definitely getting into for real.
Right. Now that I'm
That's coming
totally
up
with
right
him on
now.
that. I'm totally with him on that. But just going back to I don't remember everything that we discussed in that meeting way back when I met Keith. But I think as I maybe I wasn't completely ready then, but as we come into this new era of things, I feel like that's very important. That's just I feel like what Leslie said about learning those skills is equally important. We do need to learn those things. We do need to come together on that, but we also need to come together on this voting block, and as a people, like he said, come together on what we agree on. You know what I'm saying? And go from there. And that's pretty much where I'll leave it. can't get into the complexities of that, but
Right,
that's what I.
right. Les, you got anything?
No, I don't have anything.
All right. So right now we at the 59 mark, fellas. 59 hour 59 hour 59 going on 2 hours right now. I would say we covered everything that we wanted to cover so far. If anybody got any last minute things to say, I think this right now was another great episode on the TheSeedz963, and we could always continue
Yeah, I got
this.
something.
Go ahead.
All right. So I like what Leslie said about doing something with, growing. And then, of course, I'm an advocate of the voting block. But I was thinking about it in terms of, where do we start? Do we start with, going out to grow something? Do we start with a voting block? And, my mind shifted to something that's even easier, something where we can get a small win. And it would be something that, this is something that we do in the temples, is establish a susu, right? Anybody familiar with a susu or asu?
No, what is that?
I'm not.
It's basically like a community banking. It's like community savings. It's
Okay.
a community savings circle, right? So say if we got 10 of us and we say, you know what, we're going to do a susu. So we determine, okay, how much are we gonna give? We say, okay, let's just say we're gonna start small. We're gonna start $5 a week. Since there's 10 of us, we have to do it for 10 weeks, right? So the first week, right, say we draw straws in terms of who gonna have the first draw. What they call it the first, it's a draw, right? So let's just say that Butler get the first draw. So the first week we all put in $5. It's 10 of us, so that's $50, right? Butler gets the $50 in the first week. He put in 5, but he got 50, right? So 45 came to him. He put in his 5, right? Everybody else put in 5, but he got the 50 in the first week. The next week, everybody put in, and then the next person gets that 50. And basically, everybody does it, and we do it for 10 weeks. And at the end of 10 weeks, the last person to get the draw gets that 50. But ultimately, everybody only paid 50. You know what I mean? At the last week, Butler would have paid 50, but he got 50 in the first week. See what I'm saying? He got the whole $50 on the first draw, right? But from the remainder of the 10 weeks, he put in $5. He ended up paying 50. So he didn't lose nothing. He didn't gain anything, but he might have had a bill he needed to pay. Like, hey, I need the first draw because I got to pay this bill. So if it was $50 each a week, you know what I mean? Then he would have got 500 in the first draw.
Mm.
Yep.
And now the importance of a susu is that, for one, it establishes, basically like a community bank, right? And secondly, what it also does, it establishes trust.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
it can actually help. So we can say you know what, we're gonna do a susu, and then hey, you know what, we're gonna take 10%, and we're gonna put it towards buying us some land so we can have our little co-op or a little garden.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And so now we're doing something constructive that we can do right now. We don't require any land, we don't require anything but our agreement, and we build in trust, and then we can say, we're gonna set aside, the fruit of this susu to go and do something together. And maybe we don't even know what it is. We just say, look, you know what? We don't know what we're gonna do. We'll vote on it when we decide. Whenever we'll figure it out. But right now, we're just gonna put some money to the side.
That's right.
And we're gonna keep it. And that is also building trust, because who's the treasurer? In the susu. You know what I mean? And that can rotate as well. But the whole point is establishing consistency, establishing trust, and then it's a financial network. It's literally like a bank. It's a community bank.
That's beautiful.
And that can get bigger and bigger and go towards buying city councilmen, buying things like that to help the community right there. That can go towards that too.
Definitely.
Exactly.
Cool
Now, the
part
second
about
thing
it,
I
I used to do that with my game. We paid dues just to, every time we had a meeting, somebody, we put money in, and we took that money and put it towards legal fees, sending people home, well, if somebody got locked up, we paid their bond. We all voted. You know what I'm saying, before the money was moved, but we did the same thing in the game. So if we could do that as something, something as nefarious, with nefarious connotations as that, then we could definitely do it as something positive. I like it.
Yeah,
Correct.
I like the idea.
That's a great idea.
I like the
That's a great
community bank.
idea.
I like the community bank idea.
And that's something right there. We going to be putting a comment of this video, and we gonna see how that roll right here in Toledo, Ohio. See what kind of group we can put together to start something like that right here in Toledo.
So
Well,
good, just for the Seeds podcast to be worth something, man. We should do that, as a collective, just of scholars. We should be worth something, as black men doing this thing on for the podcast. We could do that, why preach something that we're not practicing?
correct.
Correct.
Practice what you preach. Correct.
Right.
And
Exactly.
and,
Yeah,
and
put
get
it-
and
put it in
start our own thing right here. You right about that. Now, right now that the camcorder about to end and things like that. This will be episode 2 of the TheSeedz963. I want to thank everybody for coming in, and we got more and more topics coming, fellas. We got more and more topics coming. I got a Black Panther lady that we probably gonna have on next episode to get more involved and talk about this politics. So, you know what I mean? Like, I hope everybody can tune in and stay in, and anybody who can come can. And if you're busy, then we're busy. You know what I mean? But we gonna keep this podcast rolling, and we gonna help a lot of people out here with this one, y'all.
I love it.
Yes, indeed. Thanks everybody for participation, and we'll see you next time.